Hi folks, Scott Markel from the Spirit of 76 Museum, coming to you live from Main Street, Wellington. Jenny was gracious enough to offer us this remote spot to show some of our latest and greatest that we have going on at the museum. As I've said previously, unfortunately we can't open the museum due to having to disinfect the textiles, which isn't necessarily conducive to the keeping of the textiles in the museum. So we decided to go remote with a few displays, and this is one that I'd like to show you today. We've had many requests over the past of local inventions from Wellington, Ohio, or this area. I brought with me today just a few that I'd like to share with you that were made either here in Wellington or sponsored locally by the people whose names are on the patent rights to them. So with that, I'd like to start with probably my funnest invention today, and I happen to actually speak to its inventor, who is still alive and with us. This particular device here is the Register Music Speaker. It was made by the Markel company here in Wellington, Ohio. Now, for those of you who may not be familiar with the Markel company, who most people are not, our own realtor here in town, Bob King, along with his partners, the Mayer brothers, had a small corporation. And this is an invention that they came up with, I'm guessing sometime back in the 50s. The speaker, the way the invention works is, according to Bob, is that you take a can opener and you can open the plenum or ductwork of your heating and air system in your house. You attach this speaker, and then you run the wires that come with the speaker all the way back to what it would have been. And those of you who remember, your parents and grandparents had that big console stereo in their house. You ran that back to the speaker connections of the console stereo. And at that time, you had music throughout your entire house through your ductwork and your speaker system. So I thought it was a great invention, but according to Bob, they didn't sell very many, and I may have the last one known to exist. I don't know. So with that, the Register Music Speaker by the Mayer company. We have with us an invention, and I had to hang these on it so everybody could see what it is. This particular invention is a towel dryer that folds up as such, sits on your counter. This was invented by a man that I happen to also know as a child, was in my neighborhood, and I never knew that he was such an inventor. This was invented by a man by the name of Lee Warner. And Lee Warner invented this. This is a dish towel drying rack for on your counter, and you'll see that it has that look of the 30s and 40s, and was probably every housewife in Wellington had one of these at one point in time. But this is the towel drying rack invented by our own Lee Warner. With that, on a bigger scale, in about 1921, 1922, the Wellington Machine Company was producing the Wellington tractor. Of only a couple known examples were known to exist, none of which can be tracked to actually still existing to this day, but we're always looking. A major invention here in Wellington, the Wellington tractor. The Wellington tractor is actually listed in the Encyclopedia of Farm Tractors and is known throughout the industry. Taking us back into the 1800s, the local lumberman here, W.R. Santley, who owned the local lumber business and sold every piece of wood known to man in the Wellington area, either to build your house or to make a cheese box, also invented this other rig, is what I'm going to call it. It was the Wellington belt holder, and it was designed back in the day. The factories and businesses were all run off a common shaft that ran down through the center of the building to run the machinery. and those shafts all had belts that ran to the secondary part, the machinery itself, and evidently those belts had a habit of slipping off the common shaft and stopping the machine. So he invented this wooden device that would hold the belt in place. And once again, that's W.R. Santley, the local lumberman here, the Wellington belt holder. Probably one of the biggest inventions to ever come out of Wellington. And I was lucky enough a while back to run across the actual patent of this particular machine. I've actually seen one on display. I'd like to talk to you now about the Ward mail catcher. Shortly after the railroads came to Wellington in the United States in the 1850s, the mail was being delivered out of rural post offices that were literally mail cars. The train would run down the track and the mail would be sorted, and it was okay as long as they were dropping off mail to a small rural community like Wellington, but they could not pick up mail. In the cities, it was just like it is today. It was just shuffled around, but to get in the rural communities, it would have had to have been delivered to a city post office and then moved on by train and then redistributed through the train, simply by throwing it out the window. So L.F. Ward was approached by a friend of his that was a railroad man, and he said, "We have this problem." L.F. Ward was a Wellington resident, and he invented this particular invention that is the Ward mail hook or mail catcher, that a mail bag would hang at your local depot, and when the train came by, an arm would come out from the train, as you can see in the photos, and hook the mail bag at high rates of speed, and they would gather the mail in, and then they could sort it and move it on to the next destination, wherever it needed to be, so you could actually pick up and deliver mail from rural locations. This the photo that we have with us is compliments of the Smithsonian Postal Museum. Actually, they have a rail car on display with the Ward mail hook. It is the only one that I know of. If for any of you railroad men out there watching, if you happen to know of a Ward mail hook, we'd love to have one on display at the Spirit of 76 Museum, so give us a call. Maybe we can work something out. But with that, as I said, the probably the biggest invention ever to come out of Wellington to help more than likely the world. I'm sure it caught on everywhere. They probably sold one to every little town that there was that needed mail picked up. So the Ward mail hook. My last invention, I discovered this just recently, is just this teeny tiny little device. And currently when you read the inscription on the invention, the patent is pending. So I don't know whether they ever did receive a patent on this. Was invented by two locals. What I thought originally was a single person, and it's one of our, you'll recognize the name as one of our most prominent residents to this day, Guy Edward Wells. The Guy Edward Wells I'm referring to is the original Guy Edward Wells, or one back in the lineage, not our current councilman. Guy Edward Wells partnered with a fellow by the name of Hastings, who I have recently discovered was the sewing machine dealer here in Wellington. Now this partnership worked out well because the invention needs to run off a sewing machine. So this is a sharpener that's used to sharpen your scissors or your knives and things that need to be sharpened. But it has a little pulley on the side, and it's built to run off a treadle sewing machine. Well, by chance, Hastings sold those treadle sewing machines, and I'm quite certain with every sewing machine he probably promoted Guy Edward Wells' invention, the sharpener for the scissors and your knives that you had in the house thereof. So this is, as I said, I don't know how how much it caught on or how well it caught on or that it ever achieved its patent. I now know of 3 of these. Ever since I started showing my new toy around, I've had 2 other people say, well, I have one of those. So with that, that is our last invention of this round. More to come, I'm sure. I'd like to end our session today by promoting something that's near and dear to my heart, and ask that the locals support the entity that I'm with, the Spirit of 76 Museum, which is part of the Southern Lorraine County Historical Society. This upcoming election, the Spirit of 76 Museum is up for a levy renewal. Our issue number is 13, and we're asking that you vote yes on 13 to support us in the running of the museum. This is our operating levy. It allows us to keep the lights on, maintain the collection, do a little updating here and there. I'd like the voters out there to know that in recent times we've been going to grant situations. We've had very good success with the grant situations, bringing in some extra money so we can do some updates to the collection and the housing thereof. We haven't been able to open the museum this year, hence the reason for our remote displays. We're very sorry for that. It is very hard for us to maintain the textiles with the rules and regulations as set forth by the COVID pandemic. We will be opening in the future. I would like to assure you all that while the pandemic has been going on, we at the Spirit of 76 Museum have not been sitting on our hands. We have many new displays. We've added to the collection. We've changed some things. For those of you who know me or have ever been around me, I always promise you that if you have been to the Spirit of 76 Museum, the next time you visit, I hope that you will see something different from your previous visit. So with that, when we open in the spring as what we're going to refer to as our grand reopening, we need your support, we need your help, and we'd like to ask that you support us in our levy renewal. Renew the spirit. Vote yes on issue 13 in the upcoming election. Thank you.